You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with Lyndia Grant.
Well, good evening, Radio 1 listeners. So good to be here with you again this afternoon. It's Friday. Been a little rainy today, but it's still been a beautiful day. Welcome to our show. We have a special guest today, two special guests for our second half that I always like to talk about. The second half is our main guest. We are going to have with us today Jeanette Mobley, president of the D.C. Democratic Women's Club. And we have Dr. Ayo Sakai. Are you there, Jeanette?
Yes, I am. Thank you. So good to be with you.
How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. And thank you so much for the invite.
All right, Dr. Ayo, are you there?
Yes, I am. Very excited to be here. Thank you as well for this wonderful opportunity.
Well, thank you both for being here. They have planned an exciting program coming up next Tuesday called Critical Race Theory. It's a panel discussion. They're going to talk all about it. But let's first hear from Dr. Julianne Malvo. Dr. Julianne, are you there?
I am here, and I'm excited to see these sisters here. When I lived in Washington, I decided to join the D.C.
Let me tell them just a little bit. When I say hi to you, I forget. You just keep going. Dr. Julianne Malvo, let me give you a little bit of an intro. She is the president emeritus of Bennett College, one of two. Bennett College for Women in North Carolina, my home state. Plus, she is the president of Push Excel, the educational branch of the Rainbow Push Coalition. Recently, she was appointed Dean of the New College of Ethnic Studies at California State, Los Angeles. She is a scholar, an author, activist, feminist, columnist, and she's my good friend. Thank you for coming on to do our politics for the last couple of years. Dr. Julianne, now you got the floor.
Well, first of all, thank you, Lyndia. Always a pleasure to be with you and your guests. I was just saying that to Democratic Women's Club, they wouldn't let me in. But that's all right. I ain't mad at y'all. But anyway, I'm just kidding slightly. But anyway, no, it's a wonderful organization. I'm glad they're going to be there and going to continue their work. The biggest news we have today from politics is, of course, the unemployment rate data. The unemployment rate ticked up just a tiny little bit from 3.9 to 4, but almost 500,000 jobs were created. President Biden went on the airwaves, I guess it was about noon my time, it might have been 3 yours, talking about how happy he was about all of this. And I just want to say to him, but dude, still, do you have our back? In other words, black women are the most likely to have student loan debt, and we have more than anybody else. So why can he not forgive some of that? There have been proposals that have ranged from $10,000 to $50,000. He can do that with a slash of his pen. Why won't he? So while he sits there smugly saying, well, I've done this and I've done that, and he has done quite a bit, what we also have to say is, well, you said you had our back. Do a little more. Just a little more. In terms of our economy, I mean, on a scale of 1 to great, 1 to 10, it's like a 6. It ain't awful, but it's not great, especially for the people at the bottom. People at the top are doing okay, even though Facebook lost 20% of their stock, whatever. They're doing okay. But people who are basically looking at the price of beef or bacon or even apples going up, saying, what's going on for me? So President Biden has to pay attention to the little people, and he hasn't been really doing that enough. Now, moving right along to this man, I'm excited that a black woman, Lisa Cook, who is a friend, Dr. Lisa Cook, a professor at Michigan State University on the board of the Chicago Fed, amazing black woman. I'm excited that she's been nominated to be on the Federal Reserve Board. It will be the first time we've had a black woman on the Fed. However, of course, if white people ain't busy, they crazy. So the Wall Street Journal, others have basically had all kind of negative things to say about her, and we should not allow it. We should not allow it. It's in the same segue of the way that his promise, the president's promise to appoint a black woman to the Supreme Court has been approached. And the issue is, if it's a black woman, we are assumed to be non-qualified. But the fact is that we are more than qualified. All these studies have shown that the black women that the president is considering for the Supreme Court are far more than qualified than any of the white people that they've had there before. I mean, nobody can drink as much beer as Kavanaugh, and nobody can be as vacuous as Amy Coney Barrett. So why is there such a pushback to dealing with a black woman? That's all I want to know. That's really all I want to know. Now, moving right along, I am excited that, what's her name, Liz Cheney, is basically pushing back to her Republican colleagues. They have voted to rebuke her and Adam Kinzinger because of their participation in the January 6th panel. But we know what happened on January 6th. We watched it. And when we watched it, what we watched was a total breakdown of law and order, a total breakdown of decorum, and so that they would then embrace this as it's okay is actually quite frightening. We have to, I don't agree with Liz Cheney on much of anything, but on this, we have to stand behind her or beside her and say she is trying to tell the truth. And the reason that the truth is important, Lyndia, as you know, is because in over 30 states, they're passing laws to say you can't tell the truth. You can't teach. You can't teach Black history. You can't teach anything because they are frightened of the truth. One of the first states to say you could not do so-called critical race theory, which we don't do in K through 12, so let's not even go there. But what we heard from people is, well, we don't want anybody to feel bad. And I'm like, well, we all feel bad. That's not the issue. Let's go move forward. I can never forget being in the 5th grade when they had this sister look like she jumped off Aunt Jemima box. And that was the one picture of the black woman in my 5th grade history book. And the nun turned to me and said, well, Julianne, slavery wasn't that bad. And I didn't have enough sense to smack her then. But if I could get her, I'd smack her now.
All right, Dr. J.
But the point is that feeling bad is not the issue. The issue is really telling the truth, and that's the truth we must tell. Now, another good note, I mean, what President Biden did not learn from President Obama is that you cannot waste your first year. He's been wasting his first year. He got to step it up. But one of the things he's done that I'm excited about is appointing Shelley Lowe. She will be the first Native American head of the National Endowment for Humanities, and she was just confirmed yesterday. So that's good news. So there is good news up in this, but these good news things President Biden has to be much more aggressive about, because if he isn't aggressive, he will be doing what his predecessor, President Obama, did, which is waste your first year. You cannot afford to waste your first year. There's a lot that you can do. Let's get this party started. Let's get it happening. And so folks who are listening, there's some things for you to do. You need to call these people and tell them, come on now, call Manchin and Sinema and say, confirm Lisa Cook for the Fed, confirm whatever black woman, because all of the black women, there are these studies, Lyndia, that show that every black woman that President Obama is considering is more qualified than them last three that orange orangutan put in there. You know,
you mean President Biden? You said Obama.
Okay, well, you know, I'm stuck.
I know.
Yeah.
They're the same almost. Just praise God.
But President Biden can do better, and he's got to learn to do better. And he was right up under President Obama, and so he knows you cannot waste your first year. So that's my politics for today.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Julianne. We appreciate you so much. All right. We're going to go to
Thank you, and thank you, my sisters from the D.C. Women's Democratic Club.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go to a commercial break. You're listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. We're going to go to a commercial break, and we will be back to talk to these wonderful women from the D.C. Democratic Committee. Thank you.
If it wasn't for my care coach at AmeriHealth, I probably wouldn't be so healthy right now. As a man, you know we don't get checkups or see a doctor regularly anyways. It's probably just a man thing because none of my partners go either. We know we should, but we just don't, and hope it works out.
So what changed for you?
AmeriHealth assigned me a care coach, somebody that gives one-on-one help, answer questions, explain things, and help set my appointments. She also helped me understand what having high blood pressure really means and ways to manage it so it doesn't kill me. It ain't nothing to play with. If you're a member of AmeriHealth, ask for a care coach. I'm glad I got mine.
At AmeriHealth, if you need a care coach, you can have one. Just call us at 1-877-759-6224 to get connected. 1-877-759-6224. This program is funded in part by the government of the District of Columbia Department of Healthcare Finance. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
This is Frank Smith with the African American Civil War Museum in Washington, D.C., located at 1925 Vermont Avenue Northwest on the Green Line. Did you know that a recent study found that children who visit museums do better in school and in life than children who do not? So parents, teachers, and preachers, let's get moving. I promise you, if you bring your children to the African American Civil War Museum, they will be inspired by the images that they see. They will be impressed by our living history reenactors who are always available, and they will be involved in our scavenger hunt that takes them throughout our exhibit. That's the African American Civil War Museum, 1925 Vermont Avenue. Our hours are 10 to 6:30 on weekdays, 12 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. See it. Be inspired.
Washington Informer religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Ida B. Wells, born into enslavement, was a journalist and activist. An avid reader, she read through the entire Bible many times. Wells was once asked to leave the ladies' car and sit in the colored train. She refused and train officials pushed her. Ida B. Wells retaliated but was pushed off the train at the next stop. A crowd of whites applauded. She vowed to get even. 3 of her close friends were lynched for opening businesses that cut into profits of whites. Everything changed for Wells. She spoke out internationally against lynching of blacks for the rest of her life. Through her efforts, lynching in America nearly disappeared by the time of her death. And NAACP founder, we salute Ida B. Wells for Women's History Month.
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at washingtoninformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
We are back. Now we're going to introduce our guest. I'm so pleased to introduce to you Jeanette Mobley. Jeanette is a political activist in the District of Columbia. She's a community leader and a political advisor known for being an organizer and getting things done. She's joint owner of JPM Group, LLC, where she coordinates training for private and public sector organizations in human resources and management consultants. She campaigned for several candidates over the years, successfully coordinating primary and citywide mayoral campaigns, as well as campaigns for members of the D.C. City Council. For 3 years, she served as chief of staff of council member and chair pro tem Kenyon McDuffie. Currently, she's president of the D.C. Democratic Women's Club. Under her leadership, membership has greatly increased. One of her proudest achievements was being a citywide vote getter, enabling her to serve as an Obama delegate by helping to put his name in nomination at the 2012 Democratic National Convention. She has also held mayoral appointments, too. And joining her today is Dr. Ayo Sakai. Dr. Sakai is founder and publisher of UWP Books, LLC. She is CEO of Sakai, prioritizes historical legacy and Black academic excellence through rigorous peer-reviewed titles demonstrating a commitment to African to produce new research that relies on African narratives through academic scholarship and cultural Afrocentric agency. She's a founding member of Friendly Law, where she implements synergy of linguistic imperialism and politics. She's an HBCU alum, earned her PhD at Howard University, specializing in Black politics and international relations, focusing on linguistics, imperialism, and rhetoric. She's a Jamaican-born citizen known as a linguistics activist. Welcome to the show today. Ladies, I'm so glad to have you here. I'm glad to be a member of the D.C. Democratic Women's Club as well and been working with you all and enjoying it. So I want you, Jeanette, if you would, just please tell us a little bit about about the club first, and then we'll talk about the panel that's coming up.
Well, thank you so much again for giving me the opportunity to share with your listening audience about our club, and I want to say good evening to all. The D.C. Democratic Women's Club was established back in 1967 with the purpose of bringing women together, women from all backgrounds, to come together and talk about what's needed to be done for women. As relates to promoting them in the Democratic Party. So our mission is to identify women who aspire to go into public office and train them on that. We also support both local and national Democratic candidates. And we do such things as voter registration, phone banking, texting for all. But we are very happy to tell your listening audience about our Black History program. As a matter of fact, you were so kind to be our Black History program speaker last year. And so this year we have another great program, and it's coming up on this Tuesday, February the 8th from 7 to 9 p.m., and your listening audience can get it through Facebook Live by going to our D.C. Democratic Women's website, or they can go to our DCDemocraticWeb.org website Facebook, and then our DCDemocraticWeb.org website to sign on. I also want to, before I go any further, I want to give a shout out to my great D.C. Democratic Club members, because I know some of them are listening this evening, and I also want to acknowledge Dr. Julie Ann. I have been following her good work, Malvo, for many years, and there's a lot of D.C. Democratic women clubs around, so just know that if you ever want to join our D.C. Democratic Club, you're always welcome. And, of course, I'm honored to be with Dr. Ayo Sakai, who is also a member of our club. So, again, this year we're just so proud about this Black History program, which was brought together under the leadership of Kim Alfonso, Valka Valentine, and Miss Grant, our host, and Semindy Lloyd. And so we're going to be talking about the importance of and educating our members in the community on what critical race theory is and what it isn't. And lastly, I would say that we have a wonderful panel. Dr. Ayo Sakai is going to be our moderator, and we're going to have the Honorable Sharon Pratt, who was the former mayor of the city, who now has the Institute of Policy and Politics, the Honorable Dr. Frank Smith, and Dr. C. Patrick Burrows. Those would be Reverend Dr. George Holmes, who is a civil rights and religious person in his own right. So we're hoping that you will tune in for an exciting evening this coming Tuesday.
All right, now you summed it up, Madam President. I'm sorry, you took care of everything. Dr. Ayo, tell us what you are planning to do with this panel.
Wow, what I am fired up. Madam President, Jeanette Mobley, and yes, I definitely also want to give a shout out to Dr. Malvo and you as well. Thank you so much, Lyndia, for inviting us. I am excited about what we're going to talk about in critical race theory. And as our Madam President, Jeanette Mobley, said, we're going to have a very powerful panel across the board who will tell us and give us tangible examples of what critical race theory is, how it will impact our community, our schools, our children, and our future, as well as give us examples of how to stand our ground, how to fight back against all of the misnomer and miseducation that is being spread out there. So that's some of the great examples that we have ready to teach our listeners and everyone who join us when they come to our Black History Month event on Tuesday.
Sounds exciting. I'm telling you, I'm looking forward to it. And tell us what you say is the purpose of this, because, you know, we see it on the daily news pretty much every day now, and it seems to be getting worse instead of better. What is our expectation? Tell the listeners why they should tune into our panel.
Absolutely, you are correct. It seems to be getting worse and worse and worse. You know, the opponents of critical race theory has basically taken this theory and weaponized it. Critical race theory is not in post-secondary in elementary school. It's not in K through 12. This is a legal, educational, systematic theory that is taught at the post-secondary education level about college-educated law students and the military. And they have taken this and told us that it is going to impact how your children learn and to make it. And I think Dr. Mobley said it best about people feeling bad. You know, this is not about our children feeling bad. You know, white people are saying that they do not want, and I hope I'm not being, you know, derogatory in any way. I'm just saying it like it is. They're taking books off the shelves because they say they do not want their children to realize that cops could be bad on the March of Washington or the sit-in or any of the bad things that have happened through history. You're mistaking critical race theory with history. Teaching history is not the same thing as teaching critical race theory. Critical race theory is just a method and a process that we use, a theory, to understand how racism has been perpetuated throughout history, and it's still impacting us today. So I want our listeners to tune in because they will hear from our esteemed panelists about how to really come back and to digest the information that they're airing in the news today. We want our readers and our listeners to be educated and informed so that they can stand firm in the face of criticism and misnomers and say, this is not what it is. Let me tell you what it really is about and why we need to have it taught and understood in our system today.
Amen. Amen. Jeanette, do you want to add anything to that?
She said it all wonderfully well. You know, I would just say that your listening audience probably saw during the Virginia gubernatorial race how the governor and the Republican GOPs were talking about the critical race theory and how they didn't want things to be taught in the school, which Dr. Sakai said was never taught, and the fact that now what you're hearing is states in Texas and all around banning books. They're banning children's books dealing with anything that relates to race. Even the Heritage Foundation, which is a highly conservative organization, has attributed a whole host of issues to CRT, and including in telling disinformation to 2020 Black Lives Matter protests, LGBTQ clubs in school, diversity training in federal agencies. They are really trying to do everything they can to discredit CRT. Their motives are very destructive.
And Dr. Kai, would you just give us some closing comments? We only got 1 minute left.
No, absolutely. And, you know, Jeanette, you summed it up perfectly, and you gave some great tangible examples. So please tune in next Tuesday on February 8th at 6 p.m. to learn more about
7 to 9
theory.
7 p.m.
I'm sorry, it's 7 to 9.
Oh, 7 to 9. Thank you so much. Thank
Absolutely.
You so much. We want them to come at the right time. So that would be 7 to 9 p.m. on Tuesday, February 8th. Please tune in, listen to our panelists, become informed, and educate yourself as a form of weapon to use back against those people who are giving us untruth and misinformation. Thank you.
And listeners, I just want to say this to you. Google DC Democratic Women's Club, and you will find the website, and you can go there and register. DC Democratic Women's _S Club. You'll see all that blue. You can go in and look at the officers. You can see all the chairpersons.
That's right.
Go in there and register. We want you to register. We want you to come in and get this education and pick up the Washington Informer. Read my column. The religion column is about that as well. You will read a very good educational column that will also give you further information. The Washington Informer religion column. Ladies, we thank you for being our guest today.
We thank you.
All right. All right, you listen to the Lyndia.
It was my honor.
Yes.
All right. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Thank you, Dr. Aya.
Thank you, Madam President.
All right, I'm going to go to my close now. Thank you all for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed our show today. Hearing this educational panel that's coming up on critical race theory, get it from the experts so that you won't have to keep hearing all this stuff on the evening news. Subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Read my column every week in the Washington Informer newspaper. I've been writing it for 16 years. Okay, I'm going to close now. Next week, our guest is Ayanna Blake, professional singer, actress, playwright. Tune in for details about a play she has written that you can actually go and see. Words, thoughts, and deeds have a boomerang effect, so be careful what you send out. Scripture says, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. So think on these things. From the Lyndia Grant Show, I'm your host, Lyndia Grant. Until next week, good day.
Thank you for listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with your host, Lyndia Grant.